In 2024, the sale of ILPs jumped by 41% year-on-year, reaching $2.3 billion in new sales. But at the same time, complaints have also hit an all-time high. According to feedback, the number of ILP-related complaints jumped from 55 in 2023 to 211 in 2024. That's almost a four-fold increase. And just in the first half of 2025, there were already 57 new claims, which is more than the entire 2023 full-year figure. Naturally, everyone jumped onto the news, from media to influencers to forums. And to be fair, many of these criticisms are valid. ILPs have a long history of being expensive, inflexible, and in some cases, even missold to the wrong people. But rather than adding on to the one-side bashing, I wanted to take a step back and share a more balanced view. Do ILPs have no place in today's investment landscape? And if so, why has the government allowed it to continue existing? But before we get into that, it's important to first understand that there are actually two main types of ILPs out there. The first one is the traditional kind, commonly known as regular premium ILPs, or what some people call protection ILPs. These are the ones that combine insurance coverage together with an investment component. My stance on this is very clear. I'm not a fan of it. I've even made a video about it before. The reason is because when you combine both insurance and investment into a single product, you end up getting something that's both expensive and inefficient. In the early years, a large chunk of your premiums goes to fees, commissions, and insurance charges. So your cash value grows very slowly, if at all. And if you surrender early, high surrender charges would mean you could walk away with less than what you paid in. Over time, the cost of insurance also increases. This can eat into your investment units, especially if the returns are weak. On top of that, these plans tend to be less transparent, less flexible, and often offer lower coverage and returns as compared to simply buying term insurance and investing the rest yourself. This is also why many people who bought into these policies ended up regretting their decisions. It is almost as though it is a rite of passage in Singapore, and I'm also one of them. Quick pause. If you're looking for the best brokers to kickstart your investing journey, check out Interactive Brokers. You will enjoy one of the lowest fees in the industry, at just 35 cents per trade on the US stock market. It also offers Ireland domiciled ETFs, perfect for saving on dividend withholding taxes. Plus, it also comes with free company research tools, so you can make smarter investing decisions. Feel free to use my Interactive Brokers link to open an account and start investing today. Alright, let's get back to the video. That's why to address these issues, insurance companies have come out with a different kind of ILP, where instead of mixing both protection and investment together, they focus mainly on the investment alone. These are the investment-focused ILPs, or commonly known as 101 ILP. Unlike traditional protection ILPs, investment-focused ILPs are designed mainly for wealth accumulation. They have minimal insurance coverage, typically around 1% on top of the account value, which is also where the 101 name comes from. The main idea behind this version is simple: minimize insurance, maximize investments. Now, even though investment ILPs have reduced the insurance components by quite a bit, most of the other charges are still there. The biggest one is the fund management fees, which goes to paying the managers of the underlying sub-funds. Since many ILP funds are actively managed, these fees are usually on the higher side, typically around 1 to 1.5% per year. Then there are also platform and administration fees, such as agent commissions and insurer platform fees. Provident estimates that these fees typically add up to around 2% a year in total costs. Though, to help offset some of these fees, most ILPs nowadays come with welcome or loyalty bonuses. These bonuses can range from a small one-time top-up at the start to recurring yearly bonuses if you stay invested for a certain number of years. On paper, this might look attractive because it's as though you are getting free money. But in reality, these bonuses rarely fully compensate for the ongoing fees. If anything, the bonus is often just a fraction of what you end up paying over time in fund and policy charges. So it doesn't actually make the product cheaper. Here's an example by Provident, assuming a welcome bonus of 75% with a policy fee of 2.5%. By the end of the 10th year, you will have paid about 150% in fees. That means all the welcome bonuses that you have gotten were eaten up by the fees. Another drawback of ILPs is their lack of flexibility. Unlike regular investments, ILPs often come with surrender charges if you terminate early, fund switching fees after a limited number of free switches, and extra costs if you want to do partial withdrawals or top-ups. Many also have long lock-in periods, making it expensive and troublesome to adjust your plans midway. This inflexibility can be a big issue, especially for younger investors whose financial needs and goals may change over time. However, with that being said, fees and inflexibility actually aren't my biggest issue with ILPs. Yes, inflexibility can be frustrating, but you could also argue that it is beneficial as it forces people to stay invested and stick to the plan, especially during market downturns when panic selling is common. And if you want to talk about the fees, where exactly do we draw the line? Many unit trusts already charge around 1 to 2% annually in fund management fees, especially for active managed equity funds. Robo-advisors like Endowers or StashAway typically charge around 0.6% to 0.8% in platform fees, and that's not even including the underlying fund costs. Even advisory firms like Provident, which are fee-based and don't take commissions, still charge around 1% per year in advisory fee. So if we are going to take the stance that high fees are bad, then by that logic, shouldn't every product that charges more than the low-cost ETF fees be cast into the fiery Mount Doom? Personally, I don't think so. Every one of these products exists and even thrive because it happens to serve a need for a certain group of people. That's why I don't think fees alone automatically make a product bad. Instead, the real question is whether the value you are getting actually justifies the fees. And this is where my biggest issue with ILPs lies, the advisor itself. According to FeedRed, most consumers don't really understand what an ILP is. Many thought they were buying some kind of endowment or savings policy that will provide them with stable, regular returns, when in reality, ILP returns fluctuate depending on the performance of the chosen investment sub-funds. This shows that many of the problems surrounding ILPs have less to do with the product themselves, but more to do with how it is marketed and sold. In fact, a large number of ILP complaints involve market misconduct, issues like mis-selling, misrepresentation, inadequate disclosure of key information, or inappropriate financial advice. However, here's the weird part. On MoneySense website, it is stated that if you are considering an ILP, you should understand the sub-fund's investment strategy, approach, and potential risk yourself. In other words, you can't just outsource everything to your advisor. You are expected to have enough investment knowledge to make informed decisions and monitor your policy over time. But if you already have that level of investment understanding, chances are you wouldn't be investing through an ILP in the first place. You would likely be well aware of the higher fees, the lack of flexibility, and the availability of cheaper and more transparent platforms that give you far greater control on your investments. Options like ETFs, robo-advisors, or even unit trusts. On the other hand, if you don't have that investment knowledge, then you are arguably not the right target audience for ILPs either. Even worse, you are essentially relying blindly on your advisor to make the right calls for you, and that is a big gamble because you will never truly know if your advisor has your best interest at heart. And even if you find a super zai one, there's no guarantee that they will stay in the industry for the next 10 or 20 years to manage your portfolio faithfully. And so ILPs are stuck in this weird limbo. On one hand, you need to be financially savvy enough to understand what you are getting into. But on the other hand, if you're already that savvy, you probably pick something else. Unless, of course, you are just trying to support your chiobu friend lah. Then that's a different story altogether. So does that mean ILPs truly have no place in the investment world? Actually, I feel there is one, but it is a very niche use case. So over the years, I've had the chance of meeting plenty of people who, despite attending countless talks and consuming endless investing content, still have no idea how to get started, while others simply believe investing is just gambling and it will cause you to lose all your money. The truth is, there's only so much social media, online articles, or finance events can do to educate people. As the saying goes, you can bring the goat to water, but you can't force it to drink. In these cases, you have to drag the goat there and shove its face into the water, and that's exactly what ILPs are good at. Imagine your long-lost friend asking you to cash out only to hard sell you an ILP over coffee. Yes, it is pushy, but at least it gets you started. If I had to choose not investing at all versus investing through an ILP, I would honestly pick ILP. Sure, the fees are high and it is inefficient, but at least the money is working for me rather than sitting in a bank account earning next to nothing. Otherwise, many of these people will end up working their entire lives and still can't retire in the end. Though, of course, this only works if the advisor is competent, and that's the problem. Ideally, ILPs should only be sold by seasoned advisors with years of experience and a solid track record, and not fresh grads trying to hit their sales quota. And unfortunately, there's currently no public centralized scorecard in Singapore to rank financial advisors, so it is hard for consumers to tell the good ones from the bad ones. That's why in the long run, a better solution would be for the government to conduct more free, accessible financial literacy programs. If Singaporeans are equipped with basic investing knowledge, then perhaps fewer people will need to rely on expensive and complicated products like ILPs just to get started. In short, ILPs by themselves aren't evil, they are just often misused and missold. For the right person, in the right situation, with the right advisor, ILPs can actually be beneficial beneficial. But for most people, there are plenty of cheaper, more transparent, and more flexible ways to grow their wealth. Anyway, that's all for this video. Hope you found this useful. Like, share, and subscribe as I'll be posting new videos every week.